Welcome, Simon Yernick.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. We are in the market since 2016, so I'm not working there for 10 years, but I'll come to that point in a few seconds. That's the topic, getting ahead of green shaming. I mean, I like the discussion we just had, because we are all consumers, right? We are all consumers. We all are more sensitive, more aware on the sustainability practices, I grew up in Germany, in southern Germany, in a textile factory of my grandfather, and it was in the late 80s, they had 200, 300 sewers there, sewing underwear and nightwear products, delivering it to the major retailers, And then there was this just purely commercial situation where you just had to react to the demands of the customers, to the demand of the retailers, and everything moved, everything moved to Indonesia, moved to China. I said then I'll follow that, I'll follow to China. So I moved to China, I learned Chinese, I studied there, and then in the end I ended up in the technology space, focusing on supplier management, focusing on supplier relationship management, and focusing on risk management in particular. And now what we see is that we're all more sensitive, right? So there is a framework in which we all get as consumers, as individuals, also as responsible persons. And we believe we need to act due to the fact that there is a need, there is a demand for as this morning was said, a sustainability revolution, right? And it also has reached some kind of pinnacles in a way where we already start shaming each other in a way and blame each other on the behaviors we might have. And that's on the one side a risk, right, for the organizations. It's a risk for the brands, for the companies we work for, but it also is a chance, right? And we live in different times now. We are not in the 80s anymore, in the 90s, 2000s. We have data. We have the possibility to analyze, to find out what is the right thing to do, where do we need to look further into details. And we'll talk about how we can use data, social media monitoring, transparency in a way to not just strengthen our own role, but to even make us more likely as organization more valuable to the stakeholders. And I mean, we heard it in the previous discussions. There is an increasing pressure from many areas, right? There's increasing regulatory pressures. It depends where you are located. France is quite strong with the demands towards organizations. We have consumer awareness, right? We all are consumers. Consumers are more aware. They are now tend to be more sensitive in a way where their products are coming from. Textile is an example. Everyone wears it, so everyone is aware on it. But that also is related to all the other type of manufacturing products in a way. We have B2B requirements. We send out RFPs, right? In these RFPs, we try to ask information with regards to sustainability. And we have stakeholders in terms of investors nowadays focusing on sustainability. So we have a tremendous shift in the market, which forces us as procurement to really get our arms around sustainability topics. Because from a green shaming perspective, it could significantly harm us, right? So there might be penalties, there are reputational threats. For many procurement organizations, it's just efforts, right? The organizations, they are now faced and confronted with the risks and more likely also the aims of the organization itself to be sustainable. But the procurement organization typically is set up in a way that it is responsible for buying goods, but not basically managing suppliers on a sustainability perspective, right? So it's an effort driver. And I mean, we also have the type of expensive capital. Now, that's a little bit of a provocative statement, but we heard Tim this morning, and due to the increasing public awareness and due to the power of social media in a way, we need to be prepared to basically work with full transparency. Because in the end, it will be the CPO who is the owner of the relationship to the supplier who will be held responsible for any kind of bad practices in the supply chain. Again, it's a risk. But on the other side, it is a massive business opportunity because shareholder value, corporate value, brand value is perceived to be associated with the sustainability of an organization. And if I'm the procurement leader, I'm the owner of the procurement department, I own the relationship. So I have the power, in fact, to change it and by this deliver value into the organization. And most procurement organizations, they work with these old Pareto principles, right? They say, look, we focus on 80% of our spend, and that's fine. But in that model where we're shifting our own businesses, where we are getting disrupted, trying to disrupt others as well, we have other categories, we have other areas where the focus is not so much on the key strategic suppliers where we need to look into. And from a green sharing perspective, consumers do not care how important a specific supplier is for you. There's no difference in the way of how they perceive how relevant a supplier is in a relationship with you. And for this, we need data, right? And we are one of these data providers. And as Justin said this morning, there is a whole ecosystem out there of providers that need to be connected together in a way to get our arms around and help you to more likely solve these kind of challenges with regards to sustainability practices. And a simple approach could be to be agile, to try things, to just log into our system, for example, upload suppliers, basically get them checked on all their standards with regards to sustainability and environmental standards itself. Plus, additionally, and that's what we also do, is we scan roughly 1 billion messages per day, social media messages, to identify if a supplier of yours is associated with bad press with regards to child labor, modern slavery practices, health and safety elements. And we not just monitor and see, look, there is a bad press article, there's a bad message. It's also about how critical is that, right? Imagine you have 10,000 suppliers. It's important that you understand, where do I have to focus first? Yeah. Again, we are back at that discussion. What is likelihood? What is the impact? You can build up a lot of nice theoretical models where there's something red in the corner, something green down there. You have the black swan and the green swan. I like the green swan, by the way. But it is really about that you have data that helps you to make better decisions, because otherwise you won't be able to receive transparency on 10,000, 20,000. Some of our customers have 40,000, 67,000 suppliers. You need the data in a way that helps you to where to focus better. And Justin said it this morning, I mean, there's an ecosystem, right? If you have a platform where you have your invoices, you know who you're contracting with, right? Get them together with us, and we tell you in a way where to focus on. Where do you have a contractual obligation? Where do you have a contract? And we run the analysis on top of that and show you where you can focus on your follow-up due diligence processes. And coming back to the risk topic, one of our larger customers, Clariant basically, they've got the Risk Management Award of Procurement Leaders and so on. But the most important thing is that, as I said at the beginning, it's a risk, right? For many perceive sustainability as a risk, as a black swan. Yeah? But in fact, the sustainability helps the function of procurement to really elevate their own role and in a way contribute to the business success. In a not even that kind of type of role has not been there for procurement in that same relevance as it is perceived from the public at the moment. And that's how Markus Mügler says, the focus on sustainability lets them win millions, hundreds of millions of new business every year. And that's the chance for procurement to basically take that role, own that function, keep the relationships they have to the supplier, use data more likely and the wider ecosystem to build on more likely what is there in the organization for kind of data, and then get the systems where you know where to look first, how to prioritize, and then also, and I think that's one of the most important things, talk about it, right? If the procurement function does the nicest job about monitoring suppliers, about doing audits and so on, but never talks about in a way of what they do, market themselves, it will never be seen, And I think looking into this aspect of green shaming, the most important aspect is to be transparent, right? In a way, transparent, to use the data we have to create transparency, not just for your own organization, but also to externally communicate. Yeah, because that will take the ground of any mainly unrelated, unrelevant green shaming attacks and see it as a business opportunity to position yourself as a sustainable procurement organization. And that's it. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them now or later at the networking. Yeah.